Hi guys, in this video I'm gonna tell you how to solve a guesstimate. This is the only video you need on guesstimate. By the end of this video, you will be able to solve each and every guesstimate. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we have 4 agendas for today's video. That is, first one is your overview on guesstimates. I'll give you what exactly are guesstimates. I'll give you an overview on guesstimates. Second one is how do you solve these guesstimates. Third one, we'll solve a guesstimate together. And the fourth one is I'll tell you resources to practice more guesstimates. But first, a little about me. Hi guys, I'm Ritik Melawat. I've worked as a business analyst at one of the world's top consulting firm, that is Bain & Company. While working in Bain, I've worked with clients and consultants all over the world. Then I also run India's biggest business analyst channel. I have 2.1 million plus views on my business analyst playlist. Apart from that, I've helped thousands of students secure business analyst job roles. Here are some screenshots. Also, I'm founder of Analyst Club. It is India's biggest business analyst community. Over here, I guide students on how they can become a business analyst and crack these management consulting firms. Here are some modules from the course. First one is your introduction. Second one is on communication. How can you communicate better with the people? If you want to become an analyst or crack these management consulting firms, solving a case study is very important. That's why I've included this in my course. Then you have a module on guesstimates. Then I've also taught some softwares like Excel and Tableau. Along with that, I've given some assignments and industry level projects as well. Then you have your resume building template. Then you have your hiring process, interview, exclusive podcast, and some final words from me. So here are some exclusive bonuses if you become the part of our business analyst community. First one is you get access to the best performing resume template. You get 50 plus solved case studies and guesstimates, and then you get live Q&A sessions with me where you can directly ask your doubts to me. Here are some testimonies by our students. You can go and check it out on our website also, analystclub.in. And these are all the things you get if you become part of our community and take this course. The link is in description. You can become part of a business analyst community, or you can go to analystclub.in, or you can scan this QR code as well. So let me first give you an overview of guesstimate. What exactly are guesstimates? So as the name suggests, guesstimates are a way to guess and estimate a particular problem. The idea is to come up with the most logical approach possible to solve that problem and hence arrive at a number. So you'll be given a problem, you'll have to guess and estimate few things and then arrive at a number. Let me give you some examples of guesstimate. Here are some of the examples. How many cup of teas are consumed all over India every week? So this is a guesstimate. Estimate the number of ATMs in Delhi. Determine the number of active Gmail users in India. Estimate the number of traffic signals in your city. So these are the type of guesstimates you will be given in an interview, and you'll have to solve these problems. So most of the non-tech firm will include it in their interview process. So whether you're applying for an analyst role, associate consultant, or product manager, you'll be asked a guesstimate. What does this test? What does these weird type of question test? So basically they test 4 things. First one is your logical thinking. How are you able to approach the problem? Second one is your communication skills. When you have to talk to the interviewer, right? How are you communicating with that person? Third one is comfort with ambiguity. Since these questions are very random, are you able to be comfortable with the ambiguity or not? And fourth one is your confidence, because in between interviewer might test you. He might ask you, are you sure? And then you'll have to give your answer and you have to justify it. So it tests your confidence as well. So now let's come to the second agenda, that is how to solve a guesstimate. So basically there are 2 approaches to solve a guesstimate. First one is your bottoms up approach, when you start with a small number and then scale it up to a bigger number. For example, guess the revenue of McDonald's in Delhi. So you can start by guessing how much one person on an average spends in McDonald's, and then you can scale it up to the population of Delhi, right? So this is bottoms up approach, when you start with a single person and then you scale it up to a bigger number. Second approach is your top down approach, when you start with a bigger number and then you scale it down to a smaller number. For example, guess the number of mics in Delhi, right? So you can start by the population of Delhi, that how many people are there, and then you can segregate them by the number of people using mics, and then you can come down to a smaller number. So these approach are mostly used. Now you must be thinking that these are so weird questions, how can one answer them properly, right? So it is literally impossible to arrive at a particular number. Like, how do you guess how many mics are there in Delhi? It's so vague and it's so tough, right? But whatever you do, always remember your approach matters. Approach matters more than final answer, and this is what you will be marked on in the interview. So now let's solve a guesstimate together. So I'll be solving a guesstimate. Along with that, I'll be telling you what steps to follow to solve a guesstimate. So here is a question. What is the smartphone market size in Delhi, right? So here are 5 steps to solve a guesstimate. First one is you have to clarify the problem. Second step is to take some time out and then break down that particular problem. Third step is to estimate each piece of problem. Fourth step is to calculate each piece which you have broken down, and fifth step is to finally do a sanity check that whatever answer you're coming up with, does that even make sense or not. So let's come to step 1, that is clarifying the problem. So usually there are 4 parts under this. First one, you have to clarify the unit of measurement. So when I say what is the smartphone market size in Delhi, so what will be the unit of measurement? When you say market size, what does that mean? As in the number of smartphones sold in Delhi, or do you mean the amount, the in rupees amount? What does that mean, right? So this comes under unit of measurement. Second one is the time frame. So what will be the time frame of the market size? Do you want to know the market size in a day, in a week, in a month, or an year, right? Fourth one is the distribution channel, whether it's online, offline, retailer, or wholesale. And finally, the last one is customer. So who are all customers, B2B or B2C, right? So this in general are the clarification problems. So whatever guesstimate you get, you will have to ask for clarification, right? And these are the 3 or 4 parts you'll have to ask to the interviewer. And when you're solving a guesstimate, you have to keep talking to the interviewer. It's not like he'll give you a question and you start solving it without even talking to him once, right? You have to keep discussing these problems with the interviewer. So now let's come to our problem. What is the smartphone market size in Delhi? So the unit of measurement for this question will be the number of smartphones sold to an end user. So these information you will get by asking to the interviewer that, sir, when you say market size, what do you mean, right? Do you mean in terms of money or in terms of number? So for our question, it is number of smartphones sold to the end consumer. Second is time frame. Now if you notice in the question, time frame is not mentioned. So we have to find the market size in a week, in a month, or in an year or 10 years, right? So these are the few questions you'll have to ask to the interviewer. For our question, the time frame is annual, so 1 year. Then when you say Delhi, do you mean Gurgaon, Faridabad as well? Because that is Delhi and NCR. But in our case, it is just Delhi market size. And the final one is you have to ask some clarifying question that when you say smartphone, do you mean just the screen one or do you mean keyboard one as well? So in our case, we'll stick to the touch screen smartphones and not the physical keyboard smartphones. So these are the few type of clarifying questions you'll have to ask for each and every guesstimate question will be given to by the interviewer. So now let's come to the step 2, that is time out and break down the problem. So after you clarify the question, you always have to ask for some time out, right? Use the time out to break down the problem into clearly defined messy portions. You can use issue tree for simple questions or tables for more complex data set, right? So when you're given a question and you ask the clarifying question, then you have to take some time out from the interviewer. Just say, sir, give me 2 minutes. I need to just figure out an approach. So these are the things you have to say. This is step 2. Now you must be confused that what is MECE, what is issue tree. So let me explain you that as well. MECE is basically mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So if you see in center of this PPT, right, you can see a puzzle, right? Now all the part of those puzzles are mutually exclusive. They are totally different parts, but when you combine them, they form an image, right? So it is mutually exclusive. Each part is different, but when you combine each part, it becomes a whole picture. So this is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. So let me give you a quiz on this. Which of the following set is a MECE, right? How tall is Rahul? You have your option A and you have your option B. So which one is MECE approach? So for this case, option B is true because it has taken account into all possible scenarios. So Rahul can be less than 4 feet, he can be between 4 to 5 feet, or he can be greater than 5 feet. Whereas if you see option A, it doesn't take the possibility that if Rahul is above 6 feet, that possibility is not there in option A. That's why it's wrong. It's not a MECE approach. Whereas option B has taken in all possibilities, and that's why it's a MECE approach, because it is mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. Now what is issue tree? An issue tree is a visual framework used in problem solving and decision making. It breaks down complex problem into smaller and more manageable components. So if you're given a problem, you can break it down into smaller and smaller issue. For example, you can see in the diagram, we go from complex to simple. So you start with the problem, then you break it down into 3 issues, and then you can further break it down into more issues. So this is what issue tree is. You take a huge problem and then break it down into smaller parts, and you solve each and every small part, and finally you arrive at a number which is arrive at an approach which is able to solve the bigger problem. So when you say time out and break down the problem, so this is the flow chart you can follow, right? So when you say Delhi smartphone market size, you can break it down into 4 different parts. First one is your Delhi population. What is the population of Delhi? Second part can be the percentage of mobile owners in Delhi population. Third one is that the percentage of smartphone owners in Delhi mobile phone owners. And the fourth one can be average lifespan of smartphones in Delhi. So these are the 4 parts in which you can break down that particular problem. Now let's come to step 3, that is estimating each piece of the problem. So always round up the numbers and estimate for each the calculation. So always choose number which are divisible by 10 or 5, because when you're doing calculation you don't want it to be super complicated, right? So always round up the number or take numbers which are easy for calculations. Second one is base the estimation on experience or common facts to avoid absurd errors. So whatever approach you follow, always keep in mind that you have to use your common sense, right? And the third one is do not push yourself too hard to get a perfect number. Approach is greater than final answer, right? So whatever approach you choose, don't force yourself or push yourself on the numbers, right? Numbers doesn't matter as much as the approach matters. So for our guesstimate, we'll take these assumptions. You can literally change these assumptions based on your experience, but here are the assumptions I've taken for this guesstimate. Let's just say that Delhi's population is 30 million, right? So always take a number which is very similar to the current population of your state, right? When you say Delhi, you can't say that the population is 100 million. That will be very absurd. It will be 20 million, 30 million or 40 million, right? It can't be 100 million, because that's a huge number and the calculations will be very tough. And obviously the population of a state can't be 100 million. That's just too much, especially for a small state like Delhi. And you can always double check this number with the interviewer. You can always say that I've taken the population of Delhi as 30 million to the interviewer, and you can double check these numbers with the interviewer before even starting your approach, right? Second one is the percentage of mobile phone owners. We have taken it to be 80%. You can take it to be 85% or 90%, whatever you think is right. But it's up to you. You can't say that the percentage of mobile phone owners is 50%. 50% is not acceptable. We can't just say that half of the population in Delhi doesn't have a phone. That's not possible. You can either, I mean, whatever number you take, whatever percentage you take, it should still have some sense, right? It can't be very random. It can't be 10%, 20%. It has to be greater than 50%, right? For this particular assumption, we have taken that the life expectancy in Delhi is around 80 years and the population is evenly distributed across each age group, and everyone owns a phone who is greater than 15 years of age, right? So we have taken that anyone who is greater than 15 and less than 80, because that is the life expectancy in Delhi, has a smartphone, right? That's why we have taken that 80% of the population in Delhi owns a mobile phone. Then we have taken the percentage of people having a smartphone. So as we discussed previously, that a person who has a smartphone, that might be a touchscreen phone or it might be a one with keyboard, right? So in our case, we have taken that 95% of the people who own a mobile phone has a smartphone. So we have assumed that 5% of those people own a keyboard phone. So out of that 80%, we have assumed that 95% own a smartphone and rest 5% own a keyboard phone, right? And then the final assumption is that the average lifespan of smartphone in Delhi is 2.5 years. So we are saying that on average people use a smartphone for 2.5 years and then they change it, or their smartphone becomes old and then they throw it, right? So on average, we can assume that a person uses a particular phone every year for 0.4 times, right? 0.4. So now let's come to step 4, that is calculate the result. So we have taken Delhi's population as 30 million, which has some sense to it. Delhi's population is around 3 crore only. That's why we have taken it around 30 million. Then we have taken the number of mobile phone owners. So we have said that 80% of the people in Delhi owns a mobile phone. So we'll multiply 30 million into 80%. That comes around 24 million. Then out of these 24 million who owns a mobile phone, around 95% of the people have a smartphone, right? So we'll multiply 24 million into 95%. That comes around 22.8 million. And we'll round it off to 23 million for easier calculation. Then the fourth one is that the total annual unit sales of smartphone in Delhi will be 23 million into 0.4. That comes around 9.2 million. I've already explained why we have taken 0.4. So as you remember that the question was the market size of smartphones in Delhi in 1 year. We have assumed that people use a smartphone for 2.5 years. So we can say on an average that everyone uses 0.4 times of phone every year. That's why we have multiplied it by 0.4. So that comes around 9.2 million. On an we can round it off and we can come to a final number, that is 9 million. So this is my approach to solve a guesstimate. Your approach can be different, but always keep in mind that your calculations are simple and your approach has some logic to it, right? Then the final step is to do a sanity check. So we have arrived at a number that is 9 million. So out of 30 million people, 9 million are the smartphone users in 1 year, right? So this is step 5, that is do a sanity check. All your answers and number must be realistic and seem sensible in everyday context, right? It should be sensible. We can't just say that the market size of smartphones in Delhi is 100. we have come at a number that is 9 million, which still makes sense. We can't say it is 100, just 100. We can't say the market size of smartphones in Delhi is just 100, or we can't say that the market size is 40 million. That also doesn't make sense because population of Delhi is 30 million. How can the smartphone market size is 40 million, right? So you always have to do a sanity check after delivering the answer or while you're solving it. Any absurd error will show that you have no common sense in certain areas, which is a huge red flag, right? So if you have done some error while solving it and you arrive at a number which is not possible, that is a huge red flag, and that will lead to your disqualification or not get selecting in that particular firm. For instance, in last guesstimate, it is not okay to say that 100% of its citizens have mobile phone, right? So if you remember, we have taken that 80% of the people own a mobile phone in Delhi, right? We can't say 100 people own a smartphone, right? That is not possible because even today people don't own smartphone, or people who are below the age of 15 or below the age of 10, they rarely own a smartphone, right? Even people who are above 80, they also usually don't have a smartphone. So it's not okay to say 100% of its citizens have mobile phone. This number does not account for people who cannot use mobile phones, like kids or elders, or who live in remote region where a smartphone cannot be used effectively and therefore do not buy one. So right, when whatever approach you're using, whatever stats you're using, it should also make sense. Although these are assumptions and it can be different for everyone, but still they should have some logic to it. It can't be very random. So here are few problems faced while solving a guesstimate. First one is, how do I break down a problem? When you're given a problem like number of mics in Delhi, how do you break that particular problem, and what is the right number? What should we assume? We can say 70%, 80%, 90%. So what is the right number? So let me give you a cheat sheet for solving a guesstimate. First one is your common segmentation, and second one is your common data. So usually there are three types of segmentation when you're solving a guesstimate. First one is your geographical segmentation, second one is your demographic segmentation, and the third one is your behavioral segmentation. I'll talk about each and every one of these points one by one. So first one is your geographical segmentation. So geographical segmentation works great at higher level of your issue tree or as label in your tables. You can describe them on 3-level geographic scale as follows. It can be a local, domestic, region, or national, or it can be a country, continent, or international. So remember when I gave you an example of the revenue of McDonald's in Delhi, right? So we start with the local area. We start with one particular McDonald's. Then we scale it up to a domestic area. And if the question was calculate the revenue of McDonald's in India, then we can scale it up to a national level. So usually when you start a guesstimate, these are the few segmentation you can do based on geographical positions. Second one is a demographic segmentations. So multiple metrics such as age, gender, income, family status, education, right? So this one can be second type of breakdown. You can break down the problem on basis of age, gender, income, or family status or education. For example, when describing smartphone usage, the previous question, it's best to segment them into age group. However, when it comes to car ownership or jewelry purchases, you might want to use income level segmentation, right? So these are the few type of segmentation you can use, and you will have to see what guesstimates require what type of segmentation. So when you're saying smartphone, obviously we can use age group, and when you're saying something related to money or income, then you can say income level segmentation. That can be your low income family, middle income family, or high income families. Third one is your behavioral segmentation. So they can dive down into specifics of the demographic groups or help you seek out more hidden trends. So if you look back at my example, you can see two behavioral segmentation were there. Mobile phone owners are divided into smartphone users and keyboard phone users, because in general not everybody is into smartphone and some still use old school phone. So this is based on behavior, what kind of behavior a user pursues. Now let me give you some common data points cheat sheet. So here is rural and urban split. So in world, 60% of the people live in rural area and 40% live in urban areas. If you come to India, 70% of the people live in rural areas and 30% live in urban areas. Now obviously this is not random. This still has some logic to it. As you guys know that the rural area in India is more than the urban area. That's why we have taken it to be 70% and the urban area is 30%. Remember these stats. You can literally take a screenshot of this screen, and then when you're solving a guesstimate, you can use this assumption, right? So yeah, you can take a screenshot. Just remember few important data points from this. That is your rural and urban split, then your income wise split, right? Then your age split, gender split, your population. You can remember for world, India, and your current state, that is Delhi or Bangalore, wherever you live, and then your household size. So when you say household size, there are usually 3 members in a family in USA and 4 members in India, right? So this is few stats you can remember, because this will help you while solving a guesstimate. So what not to do in a guesstimate: while solving the question, remember the below. You are explaining this to someone who is not in your head. The solution isn't for you. So as I said that when you're given a question, you don't have to just keep solving it and you have to keep your head down and just solve the guesstimate. Always ask question, always tell your approach to the interviewer as well. It is a two-way communication part, right? You have to keep communicating with the interviewer. It's not like you just get a question and you start solving it. Second one is, remember to not turn each aspect into an entirely new guesstimate itself. Focus on the question, heard of analysis and paralysis. So when you are given a guesstimate, don't just make it so complex that even you are not able to explain it to the interviewer or you get stuck somewhere. Always keep your guesstimates very simple and to the point. Okay guys, so that's it for the guesstimate. I've given you 5-step formula through which you can solve each and every type of guesstimate. But if you want to learn more, you can go to analystclub.in. Right over there you'll get this module, that is your guesstimates preparation. Over there I've told you what a guesstimate, how to solve a guesstimate. Then I've solved 4 guesstimates myself, so you will get in mock interviews. And then I also give you 20 plus solved guesstimates handbook, which will help you in practicing guesstimates. So these are all solved. This is a very useful module and definitely it will make you a pro in guesstimate. These are all the things you'll get along with the course and our community access. So you can go to link in description or you can go to analystclub.in. That's it for this video. I hope this video was very helpful to you. I'll see you in the next video, and for more such content, do subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Okay, thank you. Bye.